And we are live. Welcome to today's episode. I am Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman from ConnectedForReal.com, and I am with Miriam today, and I'm so excited to let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miriam Campbell. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be here with all of you. I've actually had the opportunity to watch some other podcasts, so it's like, whoa, I'm here being on the podcast. Like, whoa. But thank you for having me here. What? Yeah, it's like a little bit like stardom, like starstruck type of thing.
Yeah, it's like we have a list of like, if I one day am famous, I want to be on this podcast. And then you end up there, you're like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah, I'm like not so like savvy with like the social media be doing the live thing, but I'm so happy to be here and be able to share with all you guys. So a little bit about what I do. I was trained as a speech therapist, and I guess I trained as a speech therapist and a social worker, and I was doing social skill constructs and social like language constructs and cognitive constructs, and then went back to school for social work to develop like emotional regulation constructs and things like that. And I was loving what I was doing in my one-to-one personal therapy sessions, and found that generalization was not happening without support from outside, because it takes a village to raise a child and to help kids develop these important life skills. So what I would do is I would like go to the classroom afterwards or try and call a parent afterwards. And when I would go to the class, like I quickly bumped into the issue called the teachers did not have like an extra ounce of brain space to hear anything that I was telling them additionally to do. So I became a teacher to like try and see like, okay, well, what's going on here? Because the teachers are with the students all day long. So ideally they're like the best people to be able to give over the social emotional learning, yet it's not really happening. So when I started teaching, I discovered that teachers are our heroes. And um, not only that, like I got to experience like what it felt like to be in the classroom, like what it feels like when you have like a class that suddenly the student runs to the back of the room and shuts the light off, or a student who is undiagnosed with ASD or ADHD, or not even having a diagnosis, but really struggling that day with emotional regulation, acting out. And how do you, as a teacher, keep your calm and keep collected? And not only that, provide tools for your students to be able to do that. So I really like got to like dive right into that. And like, even though I had done it for years, it was such a different feeling in the classroom when you have an entire class that not only are you thinking about the curriculum, but also trying to remember when the secretary needs you to give in the photocopies, so that way you can make sure that you have the tests ready for the next day, and etc. All the different things that a teacher has on their mind. And so like I took a step back and I really like dove into what it was that I was doing in my therapy sessions, what it was that like at the core of each of the things I was trying to teach the students, whether it was perspective taking or emotional regulation or cause and effect or flexible thinking or problem solving. The life skills that we need to navigate our day to day. That's really like I tried to get to like, hey, what is at the core of it, and then from there to be able to train teachers how to, without another curriculum, actually support themselves in the classroom, and to model that for the students, so that way the students would be able to integrate these concepts. So that's like what I'm doing now is I train therapists so that way they can go be their school liaisons. I do professional development so I can train teachers and schools how to implement these skill constructs. And I have worksheets that go along with them, and a book that's coming out soon, Bubble Double. So everyone should get it because it's awesome. Yeah. But that's what I'm doing now.
Wow. Okay. So I love that you're willing to get your feet dirty. They say hands dirty, but here you like put yourself in the shoe of the teacher. So I'm totally mixing metaphors. Okay. So the
I'm with you.
shoes,
I get what you're saying.
you put your shoes
It's
in the pants,
communicating.
whatever, your feet in the shoes, and you got them dirty. I'm good. I'm good at this. Um, that you're willing to do that and you learn so much from the experience.
Yeah, and I was not always perfect at it, and that was to me something that like I had gone into the classroom to teach social skills, and I quickly like realized like, whoa, like without having training or without having, and that's what I did literally all day long. I'm a therapist. Like all day long, I would sit with my students and teach them these skills, and then needing to actually in the moment be able to integrate them and generalize them. And then I realized, okay, there's some type of disconnect happening where cognitive, you can have these concepts, but until you're actually acting them out. So the skill constructs like sort of walk you through how to address and filter the information that's going in. So that's in a cognitive way, in a language way, and physiologically, like what's happening inside my body when I'm feeling like overwhelmed, like when the student turns the light off and the classroom suddenly erupts in chaos and mayhem. So what's happening? Like suddenly, am I in fight or flight? Can I still be able to think creatively of possible solutions? And that's really like one of the things that we teach, early on. The first thing that I always teach is the concept that my company is called Skills for Connection. And the reason why it's called Skills for Connection is because I really do believe that connection is built on skills, that it's not you have it or you don't have it. People have different skills coming into it. Some people are starting off with no eye contact, and some people are starting off with a little bit of stubbornness or a little bit of challenge with perspective taking, which that's just part of life. Like if you, and I'm talking to everybody out there, if you have figured out how to have a relationship without any challenge, then please write a book, because you will make $1 million. And don't forget that I told you to write the book. So I would like to have some of that. But the point is that really like that every single person in their own, as a person, has their challenges and has their strengths. And when we address ourselves as people with challenges and with strengths, and that is part of our whole self, and then we recognize that the other is also like that, that gives us an opportunity to be able to grow ourselves and also be able to understand who the other is better, be more compassionate, less judgmental. Trying to think like, okay, how can I communicate in a way that the other can understand? Like this child only likes to talk about trains. How can I connect with this child even in this place? So that way the therapist becomes somebody who is not only preaching perspective teaching or taking, or the teacher is not only preaching, you have to understand it. They themselves are become ambassadors of it. The more that we're actually able to do it, the more we can empathize when our students struggle with it, and the more we can actually really guide them. So like, even
Which
though,
I love, because basically what you're saying is if you don't use the skills, then forget about teaching them.
yes,
And that is so profound.
yeah, and yeah, I find it profound for myself, because like when I, first of all, as a parent, I all the time will find myself like catch myself like, okay, like whoa, let me go through my skills. Let's say using one of the constructs, I see, I think, I feel, I choose, which is like a prerequisite for CBT, and it's helps with self-awareness, and it's a prerequisite for perspective taking, and it's just all
Say it, say it
supports
again
flexibility.
slower.
Yeah, I'm gonna. So it's called I see, I think, I feel, I choose. So I see is objective information. I think is what's my thought about it. What do I feel about it? And my choice. What am I going to choose to do? So I see the classroom erupted. I see the light is off and the classroom is erupting in mayhem. I think this class is going to fall apart, or this is really bad. I feel panicky. I choose to run out of the classroom screaming. No, that's not what I choose. But or I choose to take a deep breath. So meaning what it ends up being that no situation is going to be the deciding of what I'm going to choose, because my choice can be I choose a different thought. Okay, I choose to figure out how I choose to think I'm going to get this classroom back in order. I feel determined. I choose to continue teaching with my hand over the light, and which was very hard when the kids prying my fingers off. No jokes. But like in real classrooms, that is what happens. And the thing is that I feel like one of the things that educators and therapists and parents are always hoping that like nothing will go wrong. So like if let's say something went wrong in the class, it's like, oh, I had a bad day. But it's not necessarily the case, because when we see these situations, when let's say that happened to me in my classroom, the first year I was teaching, that situation was an opportunity for me to grow as a person and to be able to like actually assess what was doing, and just make choices, hopefully better for the next time, or maybe even accept the choices that I made. But it also provides a model for the students. So when there's one student in the classroom that is having a tantrum or a meltdown, I don't know if any of you have ever seen one of those. They're not so pleasant, but they are part of life. And just like sometimes there's a pandemic and now there's no eggs left or there's no toilet paper left. And sometimes bad things happen, catastrophes happen. Now, when we allow that to be part of our experience, instead of being like, oh, nothing bad is supposed to happen, but instead say, okay, what are my tools to address them? Now, what are we teaching our kids? That's like an incredible paradigm shift to be able to experience things as differently, where things aren't like mistakes that are catastrophic, or this behavior that my child or my student is displaying isn't catastrophic. It becomes like, oh, what can I teach them in this moment? What can I teach the other students in the class when that student, punched the teacher, which has happened in my class before. And it doesn't mean I had bad classroom management. The student was undiagnosed with ASD and was having a
Hey,
sensory
listen,
meltdown.
and and what if this is your first
What
year
if?
and
I'm
you
just
had it
saying.
happen to you? It's totally legit.
Yes, it's legit, but not only that, like not only is it not just legit, you're right, but it's even more than that, because then that moment becomes an opportunity for everyone else in the classroom who is in a state of like fight or flight and danger and like what just happened, and like what, like the teacher walks back in after bringing the student out, and what do they choose to say? What are they going to say about that experience? And they could say like, okay, let's all pray for that student who's having a really hard time right now. Now all the students have just had that catastrophic experience, and now instead of condemning that student, every student knows that that wasn't the correct behavior. No one thinks, oh, that was the correct behavior. But now inviting them to have compassion for the other, you've just whooped that situation from being a complete catastrophe into like a learning opportunity. And we could do it for ourselves. Like, I really messed up. I'd say I have
Oh,
terrible class management.
I do this a lot with parenting.
Yeah.
I model all the time. My thought process, I'll actually say today I did not feel like doing this, that, the other, and I overcame and I decided I was going to do it anyway, or I wanted to, blah blah blah, and I didn't. I walk them through my process inside so that they can have an inside look into what is going on behind the scenes. Because I think that, and by the way, I do this with my mastermind also. When when I'm going through something, they know about it because I want them to learn. They're paying me to learn from me. So what? I'm gonna put up a facade of everything's
Have it all
okay.
figured out.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing. No, I'm going to tell you exactly what I did when that happened and how I dealt with it and what I'm doing in order to heal and whatever. Because I really think it's powerful to see someone else going through something, especially if you look up to that person. You can learn so much. So,
Yes.
the way you said, like, no, don't judge me. You have to know this is a very kind listenership, people, like, audience. That's
Okay.
yeah, no, like
We got the hairs now.
the audience here is amazing. People are so supportive and non-judgmental. So we're not sitting around thinking you're a bad teacher, you don't know what you're doing. No, we're thinking you're saying the right things. You're willing to do the hard things, and it's really important. It's important
Thank
because a
you.
lot of people are not willing to do the hard thing. They're much more comfortable staying in their comfort zone, being one-on-one with a student, teaching them skills, throwing them back into the world and being like, I don't care if you use them or not, or if you figure this out. I did my job. But you really care.
Thank you. I
And those
appreciate
are the
that.
types of people I like having around. So welcome to the club.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's actually like I one time gave a staff training, and the principal came up to me afterwards because we were talking about how when you think about your experience as a teacher, then it's okay to be honest, like, okay, I yanked that kid's arm a little bit too hard. And she was saying how like she felt grateful that I had presented it in front of her, because this way all the staff members know that she knows that they're not perfect. Meaning, like, obviously, duh, none of us are perfect. And that's really something that like that as human beings, like our whole selves, with our beautiful and our challenging all together, that we're connecting with the other with their beautiful and challenging all together, it becomes sort of like role models that we can be for our students, and who are going to, like, as you described, like you do for your kids, letting them see the process of what does that look like inside. So like one of the things like they'll do is like they'll say like retell their day, like a teacher will casually retell their day, because I really feel that in order for these skills to be generalized, we actually have to be using them. Like they can't stay on the book, they can't stay in the paper, they can't stay in the cool little notebook that so many social emotional learning programs have. My program does not have cool notebooks. I think I'm a little bit jealous. But the point is that I don't want it in the notebook. I really want it on their mouth, on their face, in their heart. You know, that's really what I'm hoping for. So having like exactly what you described, the teachers talk about their process, and like letting the students incidentally overhear them talk to their coworker, like, oh, I was in traffic today. I saw tons of cars and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late to school. And I was feeling so stressed. And I chose to take a deep breath. Or I was at the photocopy machine. I was trying to get my class talk to the other teachers, so that way they could just hear like, oh, adults are doing this process. Adults don't feel the need to be perfect, but they do feel the need to be growing. And that's something like I bump into all the time, especially with
All
like
right,
this
say that again. Say that again. It's really
adult.
important. If you don't take anything here, but you take that, that was worth it.
And I'm talking to myself also. Adults don't need to be perfect. We need to be growing. So
And
that
and by the way, this I've said this before, and if you're a listener of this podcast and lives and all these stuff, you've heard this before, but we are not raising children to be children. We are raising children to be adults. And that is the biggest difference that I find with the successful teachers and parents and people who are really trying to put the kids on their feet and in the right direction, or trying to tell a kid how to be a kid, how to be a good kid, quote unquote good. I don't know what that means even. I just remembered last week someone said to me, "Oh, your baby is so good." We had like a 3-hour meeting. Like I drove there, I had, we had our thing, whatever, and then I went home and he was good the whole time. He was really interacting and sleeping when he needed to, whatever. And she said, "Your baby is so good." And on the way home, my baby was crying in the car. And I said to him, there is no pressure to be good. You can cry. You're allowed to cry. You're a baby. You're communicating that something is wrong and you want me to stop and you want me to look at what's going on. Maybe you have a diaper. Maybe you have something. I'm here for you. I totally get it. And he stopped crying. Okay, he's 3.5 months old. It does not make sense. But I think that it was a lesson for me because it's me that's growing in this situation. He needs
love
to
that.
learn
I
any
love
lesson,
that.
right?
I
But
love
just
that.
me being able to verbalize when you wake up in the middle of the night, it's because you're hungry or you have a diaper and it's okay for you to cry. It does not make you a bad baby, And it took me 7 kids to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
My puppy
it's just
always says, my grandmother, she always says, like, she's like, you can't be good all the time. That's like was her quote, like always. Like whenever a kid is acting out and like people will be like, why are you tantruming? You can't be good all the time. No one could be good all the time, is what she would say. It's a little
yeah, and
different than what you're saying, but it just reminded me of
yeah,
that.
no, but I wanna address what you're saying here because I find that my kids are very good in school. They're very they use all of their energies to really put themselves together and be a good student because they see that there's value in that, right? You get prizes, you get points, you get nice smiles from the teacher, she likes you, whatever. It just feels nice to be good, right? But then they come home and they fall apart. You see like their parts across the house until they get to me. And then they have this entire explosion of, I can't hold it up anymore. And I get it. And it's normal and it's healthy and it's okay. And it just means that they feel comfortable at home. They feel
Yeah.
safe to be able to just be without having to put up any show. And
It's
it's so
beautiful.
important to remember,
What a
and I
place you've
wanna
been created for them. What a beautiful relationship that you've created for them, and
thank God.
space.
It's hard because then they feel too comfortable in my space. But, yeah, I think that that was also one of the things that I've been working on is just being there for them when they come and being able to listen. So I put away my phone and I try to be really attentive. It's cute. It's wonderful. Don't feel jealous. It took me years to get to this point. Okay. And I'm not perfect, still growing. I want to double tap on something you said before we run out of time. you said, what did you say? Oh, oh, you said we expect the day to go perfectly, and that's why every little blip like throws us off.
Mhm.
It is
Yeah.
so huge.
My mother says that. She's the one who taught me that. After all the therapy classes I went to, and after all the teaching courses and everything, her voice of saying like people think that they're not that things aren't supposed to go wrong, and that expectation is what throws people off. They're not supposed to have discomfort. They're not supposed to have challenges.
I love the word supposed to, you
Mhm.
know? When I'm a God-centered marriage coach. Like that is what I call myself. I bring God into everything because I believe that that's what we're here for. So connecting to God and bringing him into our lives and into reality. So a lot of times you hear it's not supposed to be that way. I
Mhm.
wasn't supposed to marry this guy, or I wasn't supposed to have this hardship or this challenge. It's not supposed to happen. And it's like, oh yeah, well, if you were God, you would decide, but too bad you're not. Like we're trying to be in control and like making it the way we think it should have gone, but really this went exactly as it had to be.
Right. That's definitely the case. It's definitely. I think the thing that like parents will ask me, and especially nowadays, like it comes up more and more, is like that place between accepting what should be and or what is, and pushing for more, where people feel like, okay, like, so let's say accept me, create the space for me. It's a little bit more referring to what you had said before, create the space for me that I can just be myself, let me just be myself, respect me as I am, it's my right, I'm a human, like you have to accept me as I am. And the space where we're trying to help people develop and grow as humans, and like that, it seems to be very challenging for people to understand the nuance there, where it seems very black and white. So either you're accepting people or you're helping people grow, and there doesn't seem to be so much understanding
Bridge.
that, right, that it's acceptance for the sake of growth. Like if we
So
were to accept it.
I have an idea of what I want to say about that, but I want to hear what do you think is the bridge? What is the way to be in both places at the same time? Because
So
people have this about business too, where they say, if I'm grateful for what is, then I'm not going to push myself to get more.
well, even from a religious perspective, it's like, if I'm accepting that everything as it's supposed to be, then why should I pray for anything different? That's like the philosophical discussion that comes
Okay.
around with religion very often. In my mind, the way I respond to parents who are saying like, listen, my child has this diagnosis of ASD. Why should I not just accept them as they are and let them live their life? They're very happy reading a book by themselves. Why should I try and engage with them? They're obviously uncomfortable with it. It's obviously something that's hard for them. And I feel that we accept people authentically. We truly accept them as they are, and I find that we do that as as a starting place for development, where from that place of acceptance and true recognition and true even valuing the strengths that are there, really sitting in it, what are the strengths of this person, and then using those strengths to help grow the places where this person can develop. Because if, let's say, we end our lives exactly the way we came in, then what was our life if we have not grown ourselves and we have not progressed? So I find that, trying to find this place between, um, allowing us to be in our own present self, and also supporting more. So let's say, like, I see, I think, I feel, I choose model would be like, okay, so then at the end you still get to choose. Okay, I see that my whole community is XYZ. I think that I must be because XYZ, or other people think about me XYZ. I feel XYZ. Okay, now what do I get to choose? And
Right.
that end part, that's the point. The point is, that's where we create ourselves. And in that space, it doesn't mean that you didn't accept. Accept is I think, I see, I think, I feel. Those are all accepting. That's, let me just see where I'm at. Let me see what happened. Then I choose is, now where am I going to move from here? What can I do? Who can I
I love
be?
I
Yeah.
love this. Okay. How can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you? Where are you at?
So I actually have a free training demo. If you email me, Miriam@skillsforconnection.com, you can get this free demo. If you want to sign up for a cohort, you can go to www, that's a lot of W's, skillsforconnection.com. And if you're interested in for your school getting, professional development for your teachers and your therapist, either for your kids' schools that you'd want to sponsor or for your own schools that you work in, feel free to contact me, and I can set up a consult with you guys. I'm excited to support you guys.
That's awesome. Okay.
Mm.
That is amazing. Thank you very much, everybody who is live. Feel free to comment, by the way, and say, hi, I'm live. And if you're in the replay, you could do hashtag replay. And if you ask a question, we'll come back and answer it. Or you can find us both on Facebook. I want to remind you about the retreat. It is happening soon. November 8th is the start date. It's a 7-day retreat where every single day we go live on Zoom for an hour, and it is mind-blowing. It's called the Marriage Breakthrough Retreat, and it's not for nothing. It really is a breakthrough, and I wouldn't say it just because, but over 200 women have watched it and have sent in amazing stories. So please make sure you go to connectedforreal.com/retreat and sign up. I might even have a banner for you so you can see it on the screen. I'm so organized. Just kidding. Make
Really
sure
cool.
you sign up. Yeah, it is very cool how it just suddenly pops up when you click the button. Make sure you sign up. It is completely free. It is a virtual retreat, so you don't have to leave the house, and it is definitely life-changing. So go ahead and do that. Thank you so much, Miriam, for joining
Thank
us,
you. This is
giving us
really
so
great.
much of your wisdom.
Same.
Uh,
I enjoyed yours as well.
and I really enjoyed the 4 things of I choose. That was definitely something I'm going to be using and implementing in my life. And that's it. We are done for today. Thank you very much.